We have a wonderful guest here today, a surprising guest. I'm actually a long-distance student of his. His name is Scott Bolan. And if you're familiar with him, I don't know if you are or not, but if you're familiar with him, he is a martial arts extraordinaire. He is a self-help guru, and he's pretty much all-around, been everywhere, done everything, knows how to help you achieve what you need to achieve. And you can reach him at his website at www.scottbolan.com. That's spelled SCOTTBOLAN.com. I have him here with us on the phone today. Mr. Bolan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine. Mr. Bolan, so tell me a little bit about why you got started in the self-help field to begin with.
Well, I started originally in martial arts at a very young age. I was from a broken family and in a very bad neighborhood in L.A., and I somehow stumbled into an old-school martial arts studio, and it was hard, and it was very different than the McDojo strip malls of today. And as I learned martial arts, I learned self-mastery, not just fighting, not just punching and kicking, but I learned how to live with intention and purpose. And then when I started my own martial arts academy, as I got older, I began teaching. I found people would come to me with more than just self-defense and safety problems. They would come to me with issues about their marriage, about their relationships, about their business. And I began to just give advice on that freely, and it grew where I was asked to speak in colleges and different places. And just sort of evolved naturally. The more I began to learn and see this, the more I realized that all of life is martial arts, because we might not be attacked physically every day. I mean, how many of us, even in our lives, are going to be physically attacked? Truth be told, not that many of us will ever experience a physical attack, but we all experience a mental and psychic attack on a daily basis, from energy vampires, from those who are using advertising messages on billboards, to the media, politicians, competitors at work, you name it, it's everywhere, and it's both subconscious and conscious. You know, the person, the agitator or the distractor or someone in a relationship, whether it be a mother-in-law or whoever, they often don't know what's operating through them. They've been infected with vampire bite, if you will, to use that analogy, and so they're spreading it. And I was learning we're facing these attacks every day of our life, so I began to teach mental self-defense as well.
And talking about energy vampires, I'd like you to touch a little bit on what's going on in the media today. A lot of the things that are happening today in the media, as far as, well, I don't even have to say, I mean, you pretty much know what I'm talking about, as far as them trying to make us think that the economy is the worst it's ever been. And yes, it is bad. It's pretty bad. But when that's all you concentrate on all the time, then it's going to get worse. I wonder if you could comment on that.
Yes, well, we get what we focus on. And remember, the ultimate design of persuasion, one must capture and lead the imagination. So if I get you to imagine doom and gloom, if I get you to fear something, then you're going to go ahead and pass a law. You remember, politicians are dragon slayers, and they need dragons to slay in order for you to feel safe and for your vote. And this is timeless. This isn't just today. This isn't just now. It's been this way since the beginning of the printed word, and even before then. And they use fear to hearken. And keep in mind, the news media, they have time to fill. They have 24 hours a day on television to fill that time. In other words, if they were simply to report an event, for example, today the stock market crashed, or today an airplane crashed, that would just be reading off a list of events. But they need to fill that space. So they're going to blah, 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 talk about it. And as we become unconsciously addicted to tuning in, whether it's checking a news website or turning on the television, we're being programmed, and then we start speaking what we hear. Remember, repetition being the mother of all skill. The more you repeat something, it's like if you raise a child and you tell the child, you know, you're so stupid, you're so stupid, you're so stupid. Do you think the child is going to grow up very smart? You know? And so we're programming ourselves in the same way by hearing this and by speaking it. We hear what we speak. we hear others speak about, we engage in it, and all of a sudden we find that things are so bad, when actually they're not bad. There are those who are saying, we need to get back to basics. And I have a client who owns a chain of restaurants, and he caught up with me the other day, and I said, so what are you doing about this so-called economy? And he said, I'm getting back to basics. I'm advertising. And he said, it's wonderful because none of my competitors are advertising. They're all scared to spend money. So it's a free open market for me, so I'm advertising and I'm getting more business than ever. And the advertising is cheaper because they're selling it cheaper because they need advertisers so desperately. So how's that?
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. A couple of weeks ago, I told my listeners that 95% of the world, if you choose to believe it, 95% of the world is okay. It's the other 5% that's bad. And if that's all you concentrate on is the other 5% of the world that's bad, then yeah, it can look like it's 100% bad. I mean, it's all
certainly.
Yeah.
And we'll go toward the direction that we focus on. NASCAR drivers have been interviewed, and they say that when they're going around the track, if they start to spin out and spin towards the wall, that if they focus on the wall, they'll hit the wall. If they focus on the opening, they'll speed through the opening and make it out okay.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I'm going to have to keep that in mind. I have another question for you real quick. Do you think that there is an attack on our freedom today?
Yes, I absolutely do. And I do want to add one more point before I answer that, and that is a lot of people say, well, that's just positive thinking, what we were just talking about.
Right.
They'll say, you want to focus on nice things, and we are not denying the reality of an event.
Exactly.
They're not denying the reality, but what we're doing is we're denying an event, for example, the stock market crashing. We are denying that event's power over us. Do you see the difference?
Yeah, exactly.
Not denying reality. We're not putting our heads in the sand, but what we're saying is we are not going to give that power over us. And nothing has any power over you other than the power that you give it. That's our God-given. He gave us the power to create our own lives. It's such a beautiful thing and a beautiful gift, but we've been programmed to keep putting that power outside of ourselves when, in fact, He put it in us. Hope you don't mind my expanding on that for just a moment, because I know a lot of people listen, get that attack all the time. But as far as attacks on our freedom, that, too, is a timeless thing, and there's always a war, and each generation fights a war for attacks on its freedom. And the beauty of America is we have more freedoms here than anywhere else. And while yes, those freedoms are constantly there's a constant interplay, a tug of war, if you will, back and forth between those who cherish freedom and those who feel that freedom that people can't be trusted with freedom. That's a constant interplay, and it's both conscious on the conscious level. For example, some draconian laws to take away freedoms, or on the subconscious level where they turn you into a peer-dependent, status-conscious consumer, and where a person doesn't realize they're not free. In other words, does a fish know it's wet? Or that you've heard the frog in the boiling water. You've heard that one, right? Where they just keep turning it up a degree and a degree until the frog boils.
Right.
Did I lose you there, James?
No. Go ahead. I'm listening.
The first thing, I think the fundamental foundation for freedom is first for a person to become objective in their own minds, to see the attack is not just from without, but they've been programmed to self-attack and limit themselves from within. And if they start there, you've got one person who's thinking free and who understands the responsibility with that. Was it Spider-Man who said, with great power comes great responsibility?
Yeah.
So that they understand the responsibility with that, and then they're able to more effectively communicate that. I mean, there were high schoolers not too long ago in the media. They interviewed high schoolers, and they said, what is the purpose of the government? The most common answer was to feed the people.